Hello, my name is Derek Jensen, and I would like to welcome you to ASP.NET at your service Web API, another course brought to you by your colleagues here at Tuts Plus. Now, many of you may be familiar with C# or VB.NET and probably even created a website or two via ASP.NET. But over the duration of this course, I'm going to introduce to you ASP.NET's sinister other half. Well, maybe it isn't that sinister, but it definitely doesn't like to be seen. Now, I'm half joking here and half not, but we'll get to that later. What I will be working with you on is creating a web API using the ASP.NET framework to create a source of data and functionality, really, that can be accessed by any application on any platform, be it Windows, Windows RT, Unix, Linux, Mac OS X, iOS, Android, and just about anything else you can think of, really. Wow, talk about cross-platform, and that's definitely one of those hot buzzwords in the market these days. And the reason this is all possible is because Web API is built on top of a very well-known and well-documented technology that is known and loved across the community. And that technology is HTTP. Now, most of you may say, hey, I know that HTTP thing. That's what I type in the beginning of the address bar when I navigate to my favorite site, tutsplus.com. And here you see it right here, and this just happens to be HTTPS. Well, that might be true, but HTTP is so much more than that, and I am going to spend a little time shedding some more light on it to really help you appreciate a little bit more than just what you type in the address bar. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to introduce you to a few tools and sites that are going to be very important to you over your time here in this course. Now, we're going to be using Visual Studio as our IDE, and if you already have it, then great. You can go ahead and skip over this particular section, but if you don't have it, or if you're looking to upgrade the version that you do have, and I definitely recommend you're using Visual Studio 2013 to get the latest bits and bytes, I would head over to visualstudio.com/downloads, and there are two options here. You can either download the 90-day free trial, which I know that might seem a little limiting, but trust me, you're going to get the full IDE experience, because in the full versions, even though it's just a 90-day trial, you are able to install extensions and add-ons to the IDE, which there are definitely some out there that I feel like I can't live without. But if you do feel like you don't want to go the 90-day free trial route and you just want to have something that's going to last, you could definitely use one of the free versions, the Express editions down here. Now, if you're going to use one of these, you're going to have to use the Visual Studio Express 2013 for Web edition, because we're building a web API. So once you go down here, you can choose your download language, and then you have two installation options. You can use the web installer, which is the first one that says install now. This version is going to progressively download the bits of Visual Studio and install it as it downloads. So that's kind of a convenient feature to just kind of set it and walk away and come back later. Or you could go the more traditional route and download the full ISO image of Visual Studio, and then once you've downloaded the entire image, which can be fairly lengthy, then go ahead and install it after that. Either way is going to get you to the end result we're looking for, so whatever you choose to do, I leave it up to your discretion. Secondly, you're going to need a tool that's going to allow you to very easily create HTTP requests and send gets and posts and puts and deletes to our web API to really test its functionality. Now, there are a lot of browsers out there that have some very nice, rich developer tools in them that will allow you to do that. But what I find is those developer tools are a little bit different from browser to browser, not always consistent. Some require add-ons, some don't. So it's just much easier to have all of that functionality in one tool, and you can use just about any tool out there that does those things and allows you to create those HTTP requests. I tend to use Fiddler. It's one that I'm very comfortable with. It's a very good product, and it just so happens to be free. So that's definitely also one of my favorite features. So I would head over to telerik.com/fiddler and go ahead and take this free download and install it. It's very simple. It's one of those typical next completes or next finishes, and we can move right along. Finally, the last two things I'd like for you to look at have to do with information. This one being asp.net/web API. Now, this is a fantastic resource for learning about what web API is, getting a lot of information, videos, samples, and even some links to some books that are available out there to learn more. Now, as you browse through here, we are definitely going to cover an awful lot of this material, but not all of it, because so many aspects of web API you could really write an entire book about. Say security, for instance. There are actually books out there, entire books, written on nothing but web API security. So I feel like we wouldn't be able to do it justice if we did everything in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep the lessons as short and pointed as possible to really help you to extract as much information out that's going to stick with you as quickly as possible to really get you up and running and comfortable with web API and creating them in such a way that you can use them in your own applications. Finally, if you open up the Getting Started section here and click on one of the bottom two links that have to do with a web API poster, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, if you've never seen this, or if you've never heard of or done anything with web API before, this might seem a little daunting, but don't worry. We're going to spend some time incorporating this poster into the course as necessary so you can kind of track the data flowing and the requests and responses through your API. And that's really what this entire poster shows you. So go ahead and read through it. And if you don't understand some things, don't worry, we're going to touch on them. And it's actually quite simple once you start to work with it. So that should be just about enough to get us started in the course. And once you're all set to go, meet me in the first lesson. I can't wait to see you there.